The Chairman of the Presidential Task Force, Honorable Ministers, members of the PTF, gentlemen of the press, good evening. Today I'll be talking briefly on the issue of international travel and visiting some of the protocols we talked about. As you're aware, at our briefing last week, Monday, we announced a definitive date for the commencement of international flights, which will be on the 5th of September. And we are committed to making sure that this date comes through. The PTF, meanwhile, has been working with various agencies to develop protocols that will safeguard the well-being of international travel and prevent the importation of new infections, as well as prevent the further spread of COVID-19. There's no doubt that we need to ensure that the reopening of our international airspace is done in a manner that will promote safety, security, and economic recovery of our nation. I would like to appeal to all international travelers to take the protocols that will come into place seriously by adhering to every one of them. We are also developing awareness materials which will be available on social media and also available on normal communication channels, including our websites and aviation websites, to help amplify the protocols so that everyone, but especially travelers, would know and internalize them and make themselves familiar with the content. So I'd like to reiterate a few elements of the protocol. This applies particularly to people who are outside the country and are planning to come to Nigeria. So pre-departure, we need three things. One, we need a negative COVID-19 PCR test. This needs to be done from a certified laboratory, an accredited laboratory within the country you are leaving. It should not be a fake result, because we will develop systems that will allow us to identify results that are fraudulent. And it needs to be done preferably as close as possible to the time of boarding. That is within 72 hours of departure. But we will still accept tests that are valid within 7 days, simply because of the difficulty logistically of making sure that everybody has a 72-hour window for the test in some countries. The second thing is you need to register on Nigeria International Travel Portal, which we are developing. We hope it will go live by the middle of this week. We're not activating it yet, but a lot of work has gone through it. So you register on the payment portal and you will pay to have a PCR test done in country at day 7 of arrival. And you will print out confirmation. There will be an email confirmation that will go to the passenger, and there will also be some sort of barcode that will help us identify those that have paid for the test. And then the third thing we will need is the health declaration form. This is the same health declaration form passengers used to fill when they arrive in Nigeria. We've realized that it's one of the main reasons why we have a lot of congestion at the airports, and we are changing this into an electronic format so that you can fill it as close as possible to the time of departure. You fill it in a very factual manner, very transparent, honest manner, answer the questions, and then submit. And this information will come to Port Health in Nigeria, and you can also print out a copy. So this will allow us to quickly clear passengers as they arrive. You will undergo thermal screening for temperature, and you will also be asked for any change in what you have entered into the health questionnaire on arrival. If there isn't, we will move on to immigration. You will pass through immigration. You will retain your passport and exit the airport. Just to make it clear, persons that have symptoms consistent with COVID will not be allowed onto the flight, even if your PCR test result is negative. As we know, it depends on the incubation period, and you can still develop symptoms after you have had a negative PCR test. On arrival in Nigeria, you will be expected to present your copy of a negative PCR result and a proof of repeat test payment in Nigeria. We will also have within the portal the facility to be able to upload your COVID-19 PCR test result and submitting it electronically. So on the system, you will have three things. You will have one, your health questionnaire that has been submitted electronically. Two, you will have evidence of payment for a COVID-19 PCR test. And then three, you'll be able to upload your COVID-19 PCR test that was done in your departing country onto the system and submitted electronically. So at this point, as you exit from the airport, you will go home and self-isolate for 7 days. Self-isolate doesn't mean that you interact with all your family members and have dinner and lunch, etc. with them. No, you self-isolate in a separate room on your own and do not mix with family members during the period, and neither would you receive visitors at home. But you self-isolate for 7 days, and on day 7, you will present yourself to the sample collection center. There will be an arrangement to have some sort of text messaging to you a day before your test to remind you to present at your sample collection center. The laboratories that have been accredited to do these tests will have the responsibility of making sure wherever you are in the country, you have the test done. And day 8, or afterwards, as soon as you get your results, you will exit from self-isolation if your result is negative. Persons who test positive will be managed based on the national guidelines. It's important we get this right. For the moment, we do not have the infrastructure at the airport to commence testing at the airport, but we hope in the coming months we'll be able to make suitable arrangements, and we might even have a rapid diagnostic test that would allow us to have real-time access to results straight away. But for the moment, this is the arrangement that will come into place. There will definitely be sanctions for failure to comply. Sanctions to the airlines if they allow passengers without a COVID-19 PCR result to board. They will be sanctioned on arrival in Nigeria. That is the airlines. For passengers that decline to do the test, at day 7, we will still allow them after day 14 to have the test done, after which their details will be forwarded to Port Health, Immigration, and parts of the security services. And it's very likely we will put in place measures to enforce this by suspending travel for up to 6 months or denied foreign travel altogether. But beyond the sanctions, because as responsible citizens, we all would want our country to continue to be COVID-free once we get on top of the pandemic. So we expect the vast number of travelers will continue to comply with these simple, straightforward measures that we are putting for the benefit of our country and for the health of our citizens. There's no doubt COVID-19 is real. There's no doubt a lot of countries are now starting to experience what we would call a spike related to either relaxation of certain phases or difficulty in complying with these measures. But nevertheless, it's important that we continue to maintain the momentum so that our numbers will continue to decline and we'll be able to get back to normal once again. Thank you.